The biggest story, I think, since we last spoke is that Brandon Aiyuk, according to reports, is looking to approach the top of the wide receiver market with his next payday. The Niner wide receiver is eyeing what they're saying is Amon Ross St. Brown money, the same kind of extension that he got with the Lions. Aiyuk's hoping to sign a new deal at that number or higher. This is according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, who reported this in the last 24 hours. Both Amon-Ra St. Brown and the Eagles wideout A.J. Brown kind of reset the wide receiver market this offseason. St. Brown inked a 4-year, $120 million extension with the Lions, $77 million in guaranteed dollars, while A.J. Brown's contract with Philly was a 3-year deal, but he still managed to put himself in the pole position atop the AAV at $32 million per year, and he got a guarantee of $84 million. And at the very least, it sounds like Aiyuk is hoping to approach the $30 million AAV mark that Tyreek Hill is at. Aiyuk is currently tied to a $14.12 million fifth-year option, and he will be attached to a projected $24.7 million salary in 2025 if the Niners decide to hit him with the franchise tag next March and they can't get a deal done. What do you think, Coach? I mean, this is Aiyuk kind of following Debo's strategy from 2023. He skipped the OTAs, the voluntary OTAs. There were whispers during the draft that the Niners were shopping Debo and shopping Aiyuk, and there's been whispers since that they may be shopping JJ, and they drafted Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing. One other thing is Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network said that Aiyuk has not made a trade request to the Niners. The two sides continue to negotiate a long-term contract extension. So he hasn't asked to be traded, but it sounds like he wants north of $30 million. And the question is it wise for the Niners to pay him? Should they pay him?
Yeah, I think they should. I just think the implications of him getting paid is what we're all looking at. Rather, what does the world look like with the offense being led by BA? Now, me saying that I think he should get paid is a completely different situation from him getting paid Amon-Ra St. Brown money. So for BA to stand on this type of edict where I want to get paid that type of money, essentially he's saying that he wants Debo gone. Those two things can't exist. They can't coexist together on the team. So that's one side of it. Two, they should pay him for the market because I just don't think that they have any viable replacements right now. And if they did move him, then that means that they have to keep Debo, and then Ricky Pearsall will get elevated in the Brandon Aiyuk role is the way that I could see it potentially. But him getting paid, there is a conversation where is Brandon Aiyuk a number one option? Because that's what basically that money would entail. That's what that money would represent. I don't know. I don't know if BA could be the number one option in the offense. I don't know if BA is even a number one receiver right now on certain offenses. So I will say that this does fall into when you're in contract negotiations, you're not at the table for what you've done. What you've done is what's gotten you the opportunity to go after the deal. What you're going to do is what the conversation is about. And for those numbers, I'm just trying to see if Brandon Aiyuk understands there's a difference between wanting your money and then there's a difference between getting paid a certain amount that you completely shift the way the offense is ran, right? Because you can't make that type of money and be the fourth option on the offense. You have to be the number one guy. So from what it looks like, I don't see him getting elevated from number 4 to number 1 or number 3 to number 1 on this offense. But if they do pay him, I would say it's going to be in the 28 million range. I would say they would compromise around 27.5, 28, but not 30. I just don't see it.
Well, it's interesting, Randy Mueller, the former GM of the Dolphins and Saints, good buddy of mine, who's personnel guy in the league for years, now does media stuff and writes a blog and has his own show. And he says 10 years ago, the NFL paid wide receivers, the top NFL paid wide receivers made about $16 million annually, which was about 12% of the cap at the time, which was about $133 million. Today, he writes, AJ Brown leads the way at $32 million annually on a cap of $255 million. So that's still just 12.5% of the cap. But he's mentioning here that the receiver market has reset itself already just twice in the last month, and we're set for another jump when Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, and Aiyuk are all up for new deals. All four, plausibly could reset the market north. We might be looking at $35 million a year, which would be 13.7% of the cap or more. And then the Niners situation is even more complicated because they've paid Debo. He's getting 23.8 per year, 28.6 against the cap in 2024. And then with Aiyuk at 14.1 million against the cap in the last year of his deal, both players, have been mentioned in trade talks, but Aiyuk and Debo are set to count for 42.7 million against the cap this season. You add in Ricky Pearsall and George Kittle, and the Niners are committing $56 million, 22% of their cap to four receivers. Is that wise to do? I mean, that's the question.
No.
Can they realistically, wide receivers are plentiful. There were 35 wide receivers in the 2024 draft. And 7 went in round 1. And we've seen teams like the Packers and the Chiefs trade guys like Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill because they didn't want to pay him. Adams got paid his $28 million from the Raiders. Hill got $30 million annually from the Dolphins. The Bills traded Stephon Diggs to the Texans this offseason 2 years after signing him to an extension worth $24 million a year.
Right.
So it just, to me, it's interesting. I mean, it's like, you're always going to, there's this saying, teams are always going to have to pay great money for good players at positions when there's a scarcity, like quarterback. But wide receivers, they're not out of scarcity, and everybody's going 4 and 5 wides in college. There's more and more deep college wide receiver drafts. It seems like every single year. So I don't know. I mean, it's like, I'm with Randy Mueller here, who says normally I'm in the camp of pay the great players because they're scarce. But do you pay multiple wide receivers? Is it even wise to pay multiple wide receivers when there's so many of them floating around in free agency in the draft?
No. Right now you saw the number of receivers that got drafted in this year's draft. Guys are going high, and there were still guys that we found later in the draft. BA, look, I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth, right? Because there is a world where I essentially wanted to get BA paid right away. Especially when it was conversations about him getting possibly traded early on. When we were talking about moving him, I thought that he had way too much equity. We should pay him, but seeing now as it's being massaged and seeing exactly what he wants, 30 million is rich, bruh.
He's a great player, but let's be honest.
There's a difference in asking for your money.
He didn't catch 4 balls in the playoffs in any of those games, I don't believe.
There's a difference in asking for your money, and then there's a whole different ball game of trying to completely break the bank. Cap and be damned. Those two things can't exist. You can't get paid like a leader, but then not be a leader by completely strapping the cap. It's a catch-22, in my opinion. So I don't know. I don't think you can make the type of money that BA is asking for without having a real conversation with Kyle about being the focal point of the offense. I do believe that as far as like temperament is concerned and locker room and being a professional is concerned, the BA has earned just about anything he wants to ask for. He's a leader in the locker room. He's first guy there, last one to leave. He's always there in all of the preliminary activities for the off season. He's there for OTAs, rookie mini camp. He even shows up to be a voice and a presence. There's
He
tons of
he
stories.
blocks like a mother. I mean,
Come on, man. There's I would love to talk this way about Brandon Aiyuk. I don't like this. I don't like this conversation because truthfully, it's about the money. I'm inclined to lean where Kyle is right now, where it's kind of like, man, I just wish that we could just get this shit over with so we can get him in the building and we could just get back to what he does. But it is true. Like, you can't get paid a certain amount and then it not necessarily be replicated in utilization. So I don't see us bridging that gap. So BA is going to have to understand a couple of things, in my opinion. One, we want you here, but we want you here for your role, right? And two, that role has a price tag as it applies to how we matriculate this offense, right? So we can't go out and spend 1/3 of the car on the rims. We can't do it. You know what I'm saying? We can't do it.
Good way to put it.
And not to call you rims, BA. You're much more important than that. But you get
is he a spinner? Is he a shiny spinner?
I mean, he's Foggiatos. You know what I'm saying? He's nice. He's nice. But at the same time, what I'm trying to get at is that it's going to be really hard to explain, like, paying him 30+ million for how he's naturally going to be used in this offense. It can't be explained. You know what I mean? So, I don't get the juice ain't worth the squeeze as far as what he's asking for. And really, what he's really forcing the Niners to do is to figure out what his market can be and what his market is as far as value, and for us to strike at the right moment when it's time to move on and get our best bang for the buck for what we can do. We've already tried to do something with them in the draft, but that's a market within of itself. Everybody understand that's a finite clock, and I'm going to force you just to make sure that, maybe you're in the time window. Maybe you're in the time crunch when you really want to get this done. But as far as the season is concerned, we just don't even run our team. This is a better way to put it. We don't even run our team where a receiver is going to make $30+ million. So why are we even having this conversation with BA? You see what I'm saying?
Well,
we don't even run our team
because his salary is tied to factors that have nothing to do with what you just said. Like this salary that he's going to demand is tied to what Jefferson gets and what Chase gets and what Devontae got and what AJ Brown got. So none of that is tied to the Niners, spread the ball around to their 5 eligibles and don't really have any number one guy. They're more like, like if this were fantasy draft, nobody would take those guys super high. Why? Because of the presence of the others. Like,
right.
What drags Aiyuk's value down in the fantasy draft? The presence of McCaffrey and Debo and Kittle and, all on the same offense, and there's only one football. So right. That's the same. And the Niners, I'm sure, want to keep their team together. They know how special this guy is. They know how special what he means to their quarterback. But that's part of the equation as well. They're getting ready to pay the quarterback $50 million. There's probably, as you said, Coach, some middle ground in there that, we're making it seem, or I'm making it seem like it's, like it's 35 million or nothing, when in reality, there's probably some compromise that can be had. And who knows, maybe it's already been agreed to, and the Niners are just in that mode where they don't like to announce things until right before you hit the field to minimize their risk and exposure. Maybe the deal's already been agreed to, but, and he'll sign it before he trots out onto the field. I'll say this. I think the value of the player goes down dramatically if he holds out. So, like, because he's not a defensive end in a wide 9 scheme. He's a wide receiver that has to be in sync with the offense and with the quarterback. So if if they can't get this done, and it becomes like a Nick Bosa thing, and it's 4 or 5 days before the opener against the Jets and he's still unsigned, I think his value starts to decline.
Yeah. And really, it really is just that, Larry. I think it is all about his value. Like I said, if BA is forcing a conversation that I don't think anybody really wants to have, but this is football. This is the business of the game, right? And right now, BA isn't B if he's not gonna move off of getting paid that type of money, then it's time to move on from BA full stop. We just have to figure out what matters, what situation makes it the best time for us to do it. Really. And that it's really that simple. He's not going to get paid that type of money being here. Our offense doesn't move that way. We got a defensive end that we got a pass rusher that we just paid $34 million. All right. Now we're losing Trent. We got Debo who's due to make $28 million this year. All right. And then on top of it, we got a quarterback who's coming up on his money that he's going to be making probably $50 million per year. And oh, by the way, our running back is holding out, and he's already one of the highest paid running backs in the league. So I don't see it. I really don't.
It may not be smart to lock into two receivers north of $60 million on a team that, throws the ball as infrequently as the Niners do. Or maybe the game plan is to switch up the plan. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the game plan was to be less of a running team and more of a passing team going forward. But if it comes right down to it, everybody's got to have a budget. I want to see them sign Aiyuk back, but I'd also be interested to see what was out there if his price tag goes north of 30, because I don't know if he's worth north of 30. And it's not that he's not worth it. I don't know if it's worth it for the Niners to invest in another receiver north of 30 based on their roster. I mean, it might be, I saw that Tristan Wirfs is holding out in Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. Tristan Wirfs, come on down. They want to get together on a deal. I would trade for Tristan Wirfs and pay him, top of the scale money. I'd rather make the investment, sadly, in a guy like Wirfs at right tackle and plug him in there and then have your future left tackle than pay another receiver north of, $30 million and have $60 million tied up in two receivers with an asset that seemingly is plentiful. I mean, there's good receivers in the free agent market. There's all kinds of receivers every year in the draft. So,
they've already showed us that they're
you got to draw the line somewhere, right? That would be my line. If it's under 30 million, let's get it done. If it's north of 30 million, I think I got to make one or two phone calls around the league and see what I could get for this guy.